Our next lesson is going to be over athletic development. Great coaches provide a development process to improve their players. I'm going to give you an example of a process. So, here's our key points. Number one, how to build and utilize a process to drive improvement. Now, we're going to use it as athletic development, but as you're learning this process and seeing how we're doing it, think of this. You could use this and it could apply to yourself. It could apply to your assistant coaches. Any group that you have to develop and grow, this same process could be used. We're going to focus on player development process, and then we're also going to be looking at exactly all of the pieces of a process. And I'm going to give you different examples. We're going to start out with an offensive lineman. Now think in terms of this. This is the goal. This is our end in mind. We're starting with it's all happened. We've made the perfect offensive lineman. So what would that be? We broke it down into skill, intangibles, IQ, and athletic ability. So we said, what must we have to have a championship program? Skill, run blocking, pass pro, zone combos, and pulling. If he can have these skills, we have a chance to be elite. You can see IQ. What does he have to learn? What type of ability must he have? What must we improve? And then, of course, intangibles. Here's your selflessness, your mental toughness, your aggressiveness, and the ability to communicate. Think about this. When we talked about our goals and our program standards in one of our other lessons, all of these things were covered in those goals. The 4 things that we said that we must improve with our players every day, they're on this deal. Now, here's the deal. If this is what we say we must have, we have to provide a plan to improve each one of these things. So here's our goal. Now, the next one, these are the core fundamentals. These are the skills that this offensive lineman has to have. So we broke them all down into these core components, and then we're looking at it, okay, what are we going to work every day? Run blocking fundamentals, pass blocking fundamentals. I think great coaches have a gift of making it sound really, really easy to be great. We want our players to look at this system and the process and say, there's no way I can't improve. These coaches have thought of everything. Here it is. You want to be a great run blocker for us? That's what you have to work on. This, now you know, and then we're going to have a plan to address each one every day. Here it is for pass blocking. Now, we go from this. So here's our skills. Remember, there's our goal. We take this. Here's the skills. This is what we're going to work on the grass right here. So we take this. So when are we going to do it? Here's our year-round scope and sequence. Think of it in terms as a yearly development plan. It's an overview. So everybody knows we're going to break it down into these 5 core sections. Each section is going to have a specific thing that we're going to focus on. So there's a beginning and an end to all 5 sections. So yes, we have a year-round plan, but we want to turn, there's a start and a finish to each of these sections. Now, from there, the next thing that we have to do is have a detailed calendar. We've broken it up into, say, January, February, or May, or June, August. Okay, that's fine. Now you have to take all of that and put it on a detailed calendar. I want our players to be able to look at this and our coaches and say, on June 3rd, if you play offensive lineman at 9 to 11, what are you working on? Our kids could tell you that. Our coaches understand that. If I get a new offensive line coach, we've already developed this system and this process. They come to us. We teach them our offense, our defense. We teach them our character development. We teach them what a leader means. We teach them the definition of elite coach. And then we provide them all the tools that they need necessary to meet these standards that we lay on them. And it goes from position development to core fundamentals, from an overview of a yearly plan to a timeline that can go down to a calendar. You know, this is an example of an offensive lineman, but we could turn it around. We could do it with any position. Here would be a quarterback. And you can see skill, intangibles, IQ, athletic ability. I have to have a quarterback coach that can teach situational awareness to a quarterback. Speed and agility, arm talent, character, leadership. You're going to see that on every one of these. This would be an example of a quarterback development system. There's a quarterback skills, There's their yearly scope and sequence. You see, it's the exact same setup as we use for an offensive line. Completely different position. It doesn't matter. A process is a process. We started with the end first. We have the goal. We know we have a vision of what success would look like. And then we just keep focusing in until we get to exactly what you're going to do every day, all year long, so that you possess all of these skills. There's your skills. There they are, broken down to exactly. We talk about situational awareness. What does that mean? They're defined. Fronts and coverages. Exactly what do you have to know to be an excellent quarterback for us? We have it right here. Then we take that, we put it down into these 5 categories, and then we put it on a daily plan. Now, you could go from quarterback. We could put this with anything. Now, here would be an example of hitter development. Now we've gone into baseball. Look at this. Skill, IQ, athletic ability, and intangibles. So if you were that baseball coach and your head coach said, here's my vision for exactly what hitter development should look like, you could give this now to your assistant baseball coach and say, I've given you this. Now I want you in turn to give me the core fundamentals necessary to do all of this. Break it down. And then from there, we're going to sit down and develop a yearly calendar of exactly when all this is going to be worked. We could do it in baseball. We could do it in basketball. Here's point guard development. Again, what's changed? Nothing. IQ, athletic ability, intangibles, and skill. On my staff, I set the vision with the position groups on this, and then I gave it to each one of my assistant coaches, and I delegated that responsibility out to them. So then they would come back and present to the entire staff on their position. You know, baseball, basketball, volleyball, all of our coaches can do something like this. I think you could be a head tennis coach and use exactly this same system to drive improvement. Remember, as head coaches, we're all in sales and development. If you can't develop and improve your players and their ability to go be successful on the field, you're not going to be a very good head coach. You can't do that without having a well thought out, detailed system. Now, here's the other piece of it. This is also how we evaluate our positions. So imagine you're that player and you're coming in saying, Coach, why am I not getting to play very much? Well, son, let's look where we're at. When we get to skills, these are the skills that we say you must be proficient at to be a great player for us. Okay, hit shots when open, right? You could give them a grade on each one of these. You know, we could do this one. We could go back, hey, you're not a very good hitter right now. This is why. You're a second string quarterback for us right now. Execution of game plan's not where it needs to be. You still don't know fronts and coverages. So not only does it give us a place where we start in that goal, it's also something that we can constantly be giving them feedback, and we can use an evaluation instrument for the players and also for our coaches. At the end of the year, and we're going through this, and I've got my quarterback coach or I have my hitting coach, and we're sitting down and looking at this, not necessarily positions, maybe in baseball, it's the team. This is what we said we had to do. We didn't do these 2 or 3 things, or our point guards did. Then we know maybe there's something that we need to adjust. In closing, I think everybody wants to go out there. We all want to win. How many of them have a proving, well thought out, detailed plan and system that not only they know, their assistant coaches know, and their kids know? If you want to be great, you have to plan in detail to be able to coach in detail.